Happy New Year, everyone! It is still early in 2024 and therefore the perfect time to take these 4 steps to set yourself up financially for success this year. Let's go. So the first thing that you should do is reevaluate your goals. I'll give an example. So for years now, I have been focused on saving and investing my money, trying to grow my long-term wealth. This year, in fact, literally tomorrow, we're going to be taking home a second car. It'll be our first time in 7 years with a second car, and I'm so excited about it. But obviously a car loan is a big monthly expense. I want it gone as soon as possible. So I'm still gonna be investing and saving monthly. I'm also gonna be trying to put extra money on that loan every month just to get rid of it as soon as possible. Now, with those goals in mind, it's time to redo your monthly budget. This is especially important at the beginning of the year because most likely you have updated something about your paycheck if you're in the same job. So for example, for us, we changed to a different insurance plan this year. We added pet insurance through my employer. Because we switched to a plan that allows it, we now have an HSA that we're contributing to. And we bumped up the amount that we're contributing to our dependent care FSA that we previously had last year. And on top of all of that, I also changed how much I'm allocating to my 401k. The way that my husband and I have split up our finances is that he handles our really large fixed expenses like our mortgage, but I handle all of our variable stuff. So for me, with my paycheck changing in so many different ways in January, I really had to be careful to not only calculate out what that was all gonna look like, but also now that I'm getting that paycheck and I'm able to kind of validate that all of my math was correct, I'm now readjusting all of my monthly allocations to make sure that, you know, every dollar is still accounted for since I take a zero-based approach to my monthly budget. I highly recommend using a budgeting app if you don't already have one. I recently just switched from Mint to Monarch because Mint, rest in peace, they are no longer around. And I really needed something that would allow me to do budget rollovers. If you are a Mint person, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Not every budgeting app allows you to do that, but Monarch does. So I highly recommend it. This is not sponsored by them or anything. It's just really the best option that I found to replacement for that particular feature. If you're interested in a deep dive on switching from Mint to Monarch, let me know in the comments and I'll consider adding that to the schedule. Also, I just realized how crazy my hair has probably been in half this video. Sorry. And while you're thinking about what money you can spend every month, this is also a really good time to bump up the amount that you are allocating automatically for savings, investments, or large debt payments. Every month you should be setting aside money for something like an emergency fund or to grow your wealth in some capacity. And doing it automatically helps make sure that it's not something you have to think about. You're not gonna see that money sitting around in your account waiting to be spent. It's gonna get pulled and go somewhere else so that you are not tempted to use it. And by bumping up that amount every year, especially as your salary increases, you're gonna reduce that amount of lifestyle creep that you experience and start adjusting to that new normal level. Even a small change that you make today could set your year up to be much more successful financially. And then finally, start thinking about how you're going to do your taxes this year. Start creating a plan for where all of your tax information is going to go. So if you're getting a lot of those forms via paper, make sure you have a folder set aside, whether it's in a file cabinet or somewhere in your kitchen, whatever works for you. If you're getting a lot of those forms online, make sure you've got a folder set aside on your computer for the same thing. Also start gathering any large donation receipts or anything else that's going to come into play when you're doing your taxes. This is also a really good time to start researching tax providers if that's something that you're interested in this year. And remember that you can't just send them all of your paperwork like a week before the deadline and expect them to have your taxes done. It's best to send it to them as early as possible. That way they have the time to do a thorough job. If you've never had someone do your taxes before, here's a few tips of what to look for that I've loved in the company that does our taxes. So first of all, make sure that it's a real financial firm that has workers that do this year round. I personally don't like using someone like H&R Block because they have a lot of seasonal workers that don't specialize in the tax code. There may be tips and tricks that they don't know or connections that they can't take advantage of that could be helpful for you. I would also ask up front if they're going to help you optimize your tax withholdings for the following year when you're reviewing your tax return from this year. So as an example, last year, They made some recommendations for us to up our 401k contributions, but they also said, here is like the amount that you should be withholding for the rest of the year to help make sure that you don't have a tax bill this coming year. Now, obviously our salaries have changed, so we've had to do some of that math ourselves, but they also walked us through how to do that math so that, again, hopefully we don't have a sky-high tax bill like we have in the past. And then finally, you want someone that's gonna recommend specific strategies for you. So as an example, we live in Georgia, and Georgia allows film companies that have received tax credits to sell them to taxpayers at a discount. If you want $10,000 in Georgia state tax credit, you can buy that from a film company for, if the going rate is 93%, 93 cents on the dollar. So you pay $9,300 and receive $10,000 in tax credit. If that is way more than you need in Georgia taxes, then you would just get that money back as a refund. It's a really cool thing that I had no idea existed until I talked to our tax professionals. To me, it's one of those ways that the whole tax code just doesn't seem super fair, but that's a different issue for another day. But this is where a really good tax professional can save you money, because that difference alone would pay for the cost of someone preparing my taxes. Also, in case you're curious, I think the company that we use charges about $350 for like that base level tax preparation if your situation is not complicated. Ours is slightly more complicated, so we pay a little bit more. But again, it's not as expensive as I necessarily originally thought when I was seeking out a tax professional. And I've been really happy with not only the time savings, but also just like the help with planning ahead. It took so much of that burden off of me because I was always the one that did our taxes in the past. Now, if you think paying for your taxes is life-changing, I've got a whole video for you on other services that you may want to outsource. I'm going to link that video here in case it's interesting for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.